Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are jumping into Topku, as I think it's being called at the minute. This is the new red leader, Son Goku. So for anybody who doesn't know, I'm just going to quickly go over the leader itself. This is an aggro leader. Lends very well into the aggro strategy on the Awaken side, which we'll get into in a second. So both sides, he's just a draw one on attack, but the Awaken condition is 3 or less life. That's a big drawback for me on this leader. Being at 3 life is very dangerous, especially since you're a 20k. It's not like you're even a 25k leader. I don't know honestly how I feel about this. The effect itself when awakened, don't get me wrong, is really strong. It's just you're lucky if you're going to get that off once or twice in a match, because by the time that second turn passes, you've either won or you've lost, right? That's kind of the way that a shotgun build kind of works. But we'll go over the list. But honestly, for me personally, as far as the leader goes, us being able to cheat out battle cards for very cheap is very good. But you can only do it once per turn. And at that point, you know, we can go wide. We can definitely build a board. We just have to be very careful, because when I look at decks like Yellow Frieza, for example, even if I play 3 battle cards in a turn, they can lock all 3 battle cards the following turn. That's how well that Frieza can deal with wide boards. When you've got decks like green, you'll have honestly a good matchup into green for the most part, just because they can't really deal with aggro. As soon as you start slapping them, you know, if on their turn 3 they tap out and ramp, you're going to really punish them that turn, for sure. You're going to start hitting them really hard, and at this stage, it's going to be difficult for them to keep up, especially if you go second. If you go second, green can't stop this deck, I don't think, honestly. I think there's just... I wouldn't say they can't stop it. I just think that a lot of what they play are 25ks or higher, meaning that Broly doesn't get over it. And they would have to essentially stall one of their ramps to survive, I think. And then at that stage, you can kind of take advantage of that and kill them before they get there. So I'm going to go through the deck itself. We run 4 Basil for the same reason when we did the Beerus deck profile. He's a top 5 for any tournament of power 4 or less that is not himself. So it's a good card, no reason not to run it, especially in this list. Self-Awakened Roshi, once again, we need to get to this effect. And what I actually like about the Self-Awakened Roshi is, I'm just going to jump ahead and skip to one card in particular. I love this card because of this. So Clash of the Strongest, it's a choose all of your battle cards with tournament of power in their special traits, and they get in plus 10k power, right? So if we have a Roshi on board, or if we even just tap one for Roshi, if we're at 4 life, we can take the last life that we need to get to the Awaken range of 3 cards. And then once we are at the 3 cards, that's where we pop the Awaken. We flip over our leader, and then we have access to that effect where we tap one, and then we can play, for example, Kefla. Then Kefla will play something else, and then at that stage, when we play the Clash of the Strongest, you know, we've all in spent 4 energy, and we'll be swinging for minimum 35ks on those cards that we play off, with Kefla and the other cards. So Clash of the Strongest for me works very well with this, because we only have to pay 1 energy for this, rather than having to pay 2. So I do like Roshi for that. So yeah, so that's kind of the main reason. That's why I think that Roshi in particular works well with this leader. We can get away with that. We could also do the same with Glimpse of a Hidden Talent. If we had that, if I ran that, which I don't, then again we get to use that for 1 energy. So there is potential that I actually put in that Glimpse of a Hidden Hidden Arrogance, I think it's called. Isn't that Glimpse of a Hidden Arrogance? Something like that. But there is potential that we also try and squeeze that in here, because I do like this Roshi effect for when we get to our Awaken range. So it's something to think about for sure. Obviously people can test it and see how they feel about it. And then we've picked up Rosie, right? When I did my first review of the set, I wasn't a big fan of this card. I've since kind of changed my mind. I think that this deck, in particular I think in the other leaders maybe not so much. But in this deck in particular, we kind of want to just ignore our opponent's board and just constantly swing for their face. That's just the best way to do it. So our opponent will continually build a board. There are, don't get me wrong, there are ways where we can, you know, remove 1 or 2 cards here or there, but for the most part, they're going to go largely untouched. Meaning that if our opponent has 2 or 3 battle cards, she's a 25 or 30k battle card. for 2 energy. And that's a very good stat line. And I think one of the viewers had commented saying that this is why that they liked Rosie. And do you know what? I've become a bit of a believer in Rosie just for that. But I think currently this is the only leader I would put her in. I don't know if I would put her in the U7 leader specifically, the U7 Goku. I doubt I would put her in Starter Ku. For me, maybe squeeze in 1 or 2 copies if that. I wouldn't run her in Beerus. Yeah, for me it's the way I look at it is Beerus looks to remove our opponent's battle cards through control, so it kind of plays into the opposite effect that Rosie wants. Whereas this leader in particular, I think we're just constantly attacking our opponent right in the face, just on repeat. We're not really dealing with their battle cards. We might, like I say, we might deal with 1 or 2 of them on the way, but it's very unlikely. And then we've got the Krillin, mainly for the Self-Awaken and his 10k combo, pretty much it. Hit as well for pretty much the same reason as a Self-Awakener, minus 5k. It's just the best Self-Awakener Red has. We still run Fuas. The main reason is because it's a 10k. And like I said, depending on how the board state works, I do like having access to the minus 15k just in case something comes up. If we're at 5 energy and we really need to remove a battle card and, you know, like we're not in any danger, we can Fua and play the 3-drop Gohan and just clear off any 30k. It just, again, purely depends on the situation of the match. I mean, that's a very unlikely situation, but if there is that kind of scenario where we want to go down that line, Fua's there and available to us, but it is also a 10k combo. And then we've got Kefla. So this Kefla is a weird one. It's just on play if your leader's awakened, draw 1, right? Sounds silly. She is a 20k, meaning that we can play her off of the leader skill. And we can also technically play her off of the Kefla skill. So we can keep a hand size while we play her. I don't know, again, this is going to be part of the testing process. I don't know if she's still properly viable. But again, she just replaces herself, right? That's pretty much the only reason. With Clash of the Strongest, she's a 30k as well. So you never know. There is potential that she is still a good card. I just think that her being a 10k plus being playable off of both her leader effect and the Kefla effect, it just lends to her getting played, basically. That's pretty much it. And then we run 4 Gohan. He is 25k on our turn, and when attacking, when attacking, we can choose to take a life, and then we choose one of our opponent's battle cards and minus it by 15k. Pretty solid card all round. We don't have anything to stack with it besides the hit and the Fua, pretty much. If it survives, we can always do like our 5 cost, things like that, but honestly, I don't expect these cards to survive longer than the turn that they've played. That's just kind of the way that I think Fusion World is going. And then we run 3 Android 17. Both of these are playable off of Kefla. And with this turn our leader into 25k, I don't see why not. And then it kind of protects itself. So it means that our leader defensively is also 25k. And when you're on aggro deck and your leader is at the advantage of an extra 5k buff defensively, that's huge. That's really huge. So I do think the Android 17 is a staple for this leader, 100%. I would maybe even consider going 4 of these and only 3 of these, maybe changing the ratio about, but the fact that this is a 0k always scares me. It's just something, I just have this fear of 0ks, I think because I've been playing red too long. And then we run Kale. Kale is another target. I need to double check Kefla again. I might have mistaken Kefla's ability. I don't know if it's 20k power or less. I think it is. Or is it 4 or less? I don't know. I'll get to it when I see it in a second. But Kefla is a good game finisher. For 3 energy, she's a 35k attacker. Why the hell not? You know, I mean, it's a good game finisher. I think I like it in this deck because she's TOP. Don't like it in any other leader in particular, but she's good. And then we run 4 Kefla, so here we go. Yeah, so we draw 1 card, then play 1 battle card with a cost of 3 or less in TOP. So we can play Kale off of this, which is definitely a good threat. So if our opponent's on 1 life and we play Kefla, you know, these are 2 big attacks coming their way. If we also do the Clash of the Strongest, depending on the energy cost, you have to bear in mind that while she costs 4, off her leader she only costs 1. So even if we're at 4 or 5 energy, we can put this after these 2 have been played. And then, you know, we've got a 30k and a 45k right off the bat. So I like those numbers. They're definitely high stat numbers. And it only costs us 3 energy investment. So I like it. Everybody already knows what Kefla does. She's a 25k attacker. And yeah, draw 1, play a battle card, 3 or less, 2 tournament of power. The best card to play off of Kefla, though, is this one. This card is dumb. Is absolutely dumb. So the idea here is Kefla or Kale is basically just a slightly worse version. I say slightly, a much worse version because of the minus 20k power, but still, I suppose it's not all that different. They're about 5k in difference, but still, this Gohan can be played off of Kefla. So when we tap one for our lead skill, we discard one, we play Kefla, we draw a card. So bear in mind, if we don't have this in hand and we draw a card and then we draw into this, we can play this. So you draw before you do the play, and then we play this card and it's now a 40k. So for one energy, we've established a 25 and a 40k. For one energy. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. One energy, that's where we get. Oh, wait, sorry, no, I'm talking nonsense. 3 or less, sorry. It's from the leader skill, sorry. Yeah, I got that mistaken. Kefla cannot play Gohan. Sorry, my mistake. Kefla cannot play Gohan. The leader skill will allow us to play Gohan because it plays a 20k or less. Sorry, that was my mistake. Goku, tap 1, discard 1, play Gohan Adolescence. Depending on our energy, we could actually do this, and then we just tap 4 for Kefla, play Kale. Just depends on your energy. There are definite ways that we can start flooding the board once we get to those higher turns. But yeah, apologies, that was a bit of a... I hope nobody's paused and just went to comment. But yeah, Gohan cannot be played off of Kefla, but it can be played off the leader skill for 1 energy. And it's a 1 energy yellow Frieza, basically. Like, again, that's wild. Like, the Frieza 40k, if that was 1 energy in Frieza, God knows what that deck would look like. But we have access to a 40k 1 cost. Wild numbers. I only run 2 of the double strikers. This was a tough one, honestly. One of the main reasons why, the honest truth answer is because we're an aggro deck and we have to discard to play our cards, a lot of the times our hand size is going to be much less than our opponent. Now, the cards that I have in hand, I do not want to be dead cards. I don't want them to be 0k combos. And right now we run 5. We run 5 0ks, and honestly, I'm uncomfortable at that number. I was even looking at potentially running a build where I cut the double striker entirely. And maybe even at 5 energy, putting in like... I wouldn't even put in Rumshes, because honestly, at 5 energy, unless I'm looking to double strike my opponent to death, I'm not tapping 5 when I can, you know, like pay 1, play Kefla into Kale, and then I still have 4 open energy to do this, or 4 open energy to put out a couple of more attackers like Rose, Hit. So, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to stay around. This might change. But he's here for now. He is a double striker. Why not? We'll see how the testing goes. And then last card's the super combos. Again, run whatever super combo you want. If you're running the extra card specifically for U7, then obviously you need Shin, but I don't bother with that extra card nowadays. I don't really see the point in it. The other thing to note about this leader is you do have access to actually passing, like red as a colour will normally tap out every single turn, right? That's just normally what they do. You know, they tap 3 for Gohan, tap 4 for Kefla, 4 for Gohan, 5 for Goku, right? They just have a tendency to tap out. This leader can actually avoid most of that because we can tap 1 and play Kefla and then into Kale, for example, or even Android 17 or Gohan, doesn't really matter which one we play off there. We still have, let's say we were on 4 energy at that point, we still have 3 open energy. So we could theoretically pass. I don't think it would be the best play because we are an aggro deck, but you can theoretically pass at that point. And save your energy up for that hidden arrogance or whatever you want to call it. It purely just depends on how you want to strategize and play this. I think there is definitely a way to play this leader mid-range. I just think that you need to play it aggro. And for anybody who's wondering when we're talking about aggro, the reason why we're not playing the TNs in here is because it's only a 15k. The 1-drop TNs will only be 15k in this leader. When I do my U7 build at some point, the 3-drop TN that plays the 1-drop TNs will 100% be in there because every single one of them is a threat to the leader, basically. Every single one of them are 20k or 25k. But for this leader, it doesn't fit. That's the way I see it. It just doesn't fit with this leader. Us playing 15ks and having to combo off 5s, it just doesn't feel good, honestly. But yeah, so this is the list. I like this list, honestly. I really, really like this list and how strong it is and how aggressive we need to be. Obviously, we don't really start seeing that aggression until we hit like turn 3, turn 4. But once we establish and once we get to our like 5 energy mark, the amount of pressure this leader can put out is wild. It's crazy as long as you've got the cards in hand. But that's the idea behind the deck anyway. And like I said, I like having these big attackers in here like the Gohan and the Kale just for if we don't see a 5-drop or if it's not the right way to win a match. We have access to just boarding a huge attacker for 1 energy, or yeah, like just 1 energy either way. It doesn't really matter which, but that's it. I think that this leader is very, very strong. I think that honestly it plays very well into most matchups. The benefit of a lot of our attacks being 25k as well, between basically everything from this Gohan onwards is just base 25k or more. Hit, you know, we can combo off our cantrips and stuff like that, even just a spare 5k or whatever just to make him a threat. This one sort of it's not really there for that. It's more there for just the combo. It's fine if we get to draw a card. It's kind of our worst case scenario if we have nothing to play off of Kefla. If we don't have the Kale, the Android, or the Gohan, it's there. You know what I mean? It's a way to draw a card and we fielded a second attacker. Right? That's it. That's pretty much all it's there for. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing this leader next set as well. I think he's going to be very, very good. Like I say, I think he has a great matchup into green because we just go so wide and so aggressive. Yellow, while we go wide, it depends on how quick we can go wide. Because if we play into a mid-range match, they will just beat us because they will just lock down. You know, I could have 3 battle cards like these 3 on board, and Frieza just goes lock, 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 and now I'm starting again, and that's it. But yeah, and I think the blue match is weird. Yes, blue can bounce stuff back to your hand, but it can't bounce this amount. It cannot bounce 3 or 4 cards a turn. So again, I think this will have a decent matchup into blue. I think that once we get to the stages of the later game where Vegeta is going to be like 45 and 50k, and when it's going to hit those ridiculous numbers for 1 energy as well, that's where we might struggle a bit, especially with us awakening at 3 life. And then into red, I think this leader will play very well into the other red leaders for sure. Yeah, I think he could play into the other red leaders pretty well. I think it would be more or less a 50-50 match. I think Beerus's control isn't good enough to deal with this wide of a board. And I think the only thing is Starter Coup for me. I think Starter Coup could defend against this, but I suppose with this we're just going to attack face and Starter Coup doesn't really take the added benefit. I don't know. Well, I would need to test it, but I genuinely think that this could be a very, very good leader next set for sure. So if anybody's theory crafted this leader, please hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you would change or what you would maybe suggest. And if you haven't already, please like the video, and if you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.